Good morning, you magnificent sons and daughters of others. Welcome to Ponderotic Pilgrims. I'm Charles Ham, author of the book Ponderotic Pilgrims, which is a 3-time #1 international bestseller. If you'd like to know more about it or more about me, you can go to my website at charlesham.com. Want you to just gather around here on the porch this morning. I want to welcome you to Round Mountain. I want to just have a talk with you about some things I've been pondering on that I feel like are important. And though it's not the main subject I'm ultimately going to get to, I want to start out by thinking about being calm. I learned at an early age that my best interest was always served in situations where they might be adverse or unpleasant or any number of other reasons, that I was always better served by keeping my head screwed on straight and just staying calm. Because when you don't, you lose your perspective. You don't think clearly, and you're not able to really act in your own best interests. Now, I think the opposite of all of this, and this is really what I want to get into, is anger and what it actually is. Now, I have known people through my life that have anger issues, and I've observed them. And I can't say that I've never been angry myself, but it's been a long time. It's a choice. And when I start feeling those emotions, I catch myself and calm down. Anger is essentially self-destructive behavior. It is acting in a way that's not in your own best interests. There's a reason that they call another word for being angry is mad. Because when you're mad, it's a psychological term. You've lost your mind. You go temporarily, you just seem to go nuts. And you do things that you normally wouldn't do. You'll say things that you normally wouldn't do. And generally, just dumb things. And it can destroy relationships. It can destroy marriages. It can destroy your reputation at the job. Nobody likes to be around a hothead that's always blowing his stack as a response to difficult situations. And you need to stop and think about this. Fundamentally, I define anger as a lack of self-control. Now, I've heard people speak about them having a bad temper almost as if they were proud of it. But I don't hear people speaking proudly and saying, I lack self-control. Because when you become angry, you lose control of yourself and you lose control of your senses. I spoke about the 4 golden questions that I developed and that serve as a decision-making discipline in my own life. And they were, what would a wise person do? What would a wise person say? What would a wise person think, and what would a wise person feel? You can't ask yourself the question, what would a wise person do, and decide that a wise person would get mad. That's not a wise decision. Or if you ask yourself, what would a wise person say? Well, I'm going to say something in anger. I'm going to be angry and act angry. It's always against your own self-interest to not keep control of yourself and have a clear mind and a clear head to assess your situation and do what's right and responsible. You need to learn to be calm and to stay calm. And that is the point that I want to make. Now, I'm going to use this to segue into something I was talking about in another episode about my grandpa. And it'll illustrate my point well. I told you that Grandpa had gone fishing one morning, and before the day was out, he had gotten into a situation where he was literally shot and fatally wounded and lost his life. Now, here is the sequence of things that have happened. I've often wondered about Grandpa after he was actually shot. What he did was he got into his old truck and he drove himself home. And he probably lived around 10 miles away from where he was at the time. And these were back country roads in rural Kentucky that twisted and turned and had their ups and downs. And it probably took him 20 or 25, maybe even 30 minutes in the condition he was in to drive himself to his house. And I've wondered as I got older and thought about that, what was he thinking on that way home? His day started out watching the sun come up on a riverbank in the tranquility of being out in the peace and quiet of a bucolic scene of a man fishing. And then now he's driving home with a bullet wound that will take his life. What was he thinking? And I've always wondered if he wasn't thinking about the series of decisions that he made after he went back up to his truck and found out that someone had stolen his tools. When Grandpa got back to his truck after fishing that day, someone had taken his tools. Now, Grandpa had a decision to make. Okay, what will I do? What should I do about this? A thief has stolen my tools. He had options. Now, he couldn't pick up his cell phone and take it off of his hip. This was in 1955. But he could have decided, I'm going to go to the house and I'm going to call the sheriff. I think I know where my tools are, but I don't want to go out there by myself. So I'm going to go call the sheriff and I'm going to see if he'll go with me and check to see if my tools are out there at this place. And maybe he would have had another option or two. But what Grandpa decided to do is to get in his truck and to drive to the house of the people that he thought had stolen his tools. Now, when he got out there, he had another decision to make. How should I handle this? He got out of his truck. He could have decided to walk up to the front porch, knock on the door, and get the people out there and tell them what he thought or stated his business. Instead, he decided that he would go straight to the shed where he thought he would find his tools. So he walked out there and found them. They were there. But now he had another decision. Okay, I found my tools. What do I do? Now do I go up to the porch and talk to the people? Now he got his tools, picked them up and was carried them back to his truck, put them in the back of his pickup. And at that point, a man comes out of the house with a rifle. And Grandpa had another decision to make. This is starting to get serious. Do I just back on out of the driveway and take off? with the tools. What should I do? Well, Grandpa got out of the truck and walked up to the man, and another decision was made. Grandpa actually got into a fight with this man. They scuffled, and Grandpa was trying to take the rifle away from him. And in the course of that conflict and scuffle, the man broke free of Grandpa, fired the rifle, and hit Grandpa in the abdomen. And he was mortally wounded. And at that point, he got into his truck and drove home, where not long after he died. Now, here's what I don't want to be lost on you folks. A series of bad decisions that when you cut through, I mean, this was my grandpa, and I talked about the gift that he gave me of laughter in another story. This was a gift that he gave me as well. When you think about the series of decisions he made, it cut through all of the self-serving things that I might be able to say. And in defense of my grandpa, it all shakes down to one particular thing as to why Grandpa was driving home dying. Grandpa got mad. That's the long and the short of it, and there's no other way to look at it. And I think that that's the lesson that Grandpa would have wanted me to learn. He got mad, he wasn't thinking clearly, and he made a series of decisions that proved fatal. Anger never really serves your own best interest, and sometimes the cost of anger can be greater than you could ever imagine. My Texas grit for you today is, it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you respond. Ponder on it, Pilgrims. I love y'all. Bye-bye.